Hey everybody, welcome to Turn 2 with Scott and Troy. I'm Scott Kornberg, joined by my good friend Troy Johnston. Thank you guys for joining us. We're both on the road for this episode, which is kind of exciting. We do want to start. Turn 2 is presented by our friends at Jack's Implants and Dentures, led by former Georgia baseball player Dr. Alex McCray and his partner, Dr. Spencer Russell. Visit jacksimplants.com to let this hometown practice make your smile a home run. So, as mentioned, Troy, we are on the road. It is the first two-ish weeks of the season. You're on the big league roster, which is awesome. We're in Norfolk, a place you are familiar with. It's funny because we have Kyle Stowers, who's rehabbing with us here, and he played parts of 4 seasons with Norfolk, so I'm sure he doesn't want to know that he is the Norfolk home run king. That's like a record you do not want, but it's cool to see him maybe getting back to the major leagues pretty soon. But for you guys, like I think people kind of looked at the Rockies this year, 119 losses a year ago as a team that was going to really struggle, and it has taken walk-off home runs in back-to-back games to send you under 500. So, what are maybe some of the vibes you guys are feeling early on? I know it's 6-8, but at least my general feel of things and what I'm reading online is that people thought you guys would be a pushover again in 2026, and it has not been the case.
You know, we it's interesting you say that. I draw a little bit from kind of our team with Jacksonville last year is we have a lot of guys that want to win, that want to do really well, that want to push to make themselves better no matter how they do it. We have a lot of guys that are not content with, where they're at, how they're doing, and it's so cool to be a part of such a team that all 26 guys are trying to get better every single day. They're trying to win. And just like our team last year in Jacksonville, like that was the vibe. That was how it was. Is we are working really hard every day to try to be the best team because we know what we can be and what we can do. And it starts with Schaefer. It starts with our manager. And when we're talking spring training, and even when we're talking now, like our goal is not just to you know play the game, hope to win, do all this. It is to win. Like that's our main goal. Is we don't play the game to just play the game. We play the game to win. And so any way we can do that, whether we're making substitutions, whether we're butting a guy over, whether we get that big hit, whether a righty's got to throw 2 innings instead of one, things like that. Like we are doing whatever it takes to win, and I think it's really cool. And I hope that a lot of other teams are understanding like what we're working on and how we're doing because we're gonna win some games this year and we're gonna do well.
I was looking up your numbers before this, and I'm sure you're aware, at least to some extent, of what they are, but hitting well over 300, OPS close to 900. Like, what a cool start for you. And I'm like a huge baseball nerd, so I go on Baseball Savant, and it's got like the red for what you do well, the blue for the lower percentiles of where you rank, and your highest percentile, Troy, I don't even know if you know this, 92nd percentile in squared up rate, which is like what you want to do when you go to the plate every time. You want to square up the baseball, hit it hard. So from where you were in spring training, I remember we did an episode and you're like, I don't really even feel like I'm doing all that great right now, but I feel like I'm close. What kind of got you to where you are right now, where you're literally squaring at the baseball more than the third of the time? It's the 92nd percentile in all of Major League Baseball. So you're around guys who are perennial all-stars in that category.
So really cool. I don't think it was a lot of mechanic. There was one mechanical change that I made. That was it. Um, the only mechanical change that I made was I actually lowered my hands so I could be more on plane with the baseball. When I had my hands high and I had my hands, it took me so long to get slotted that it became hard for me to get under spin. It made it hard for me to hit anything down and in, up and in, anything away. I would just cut. But if it was like a fastball, 2 balls or 3 balls up, I had it. I was no problem. I was hitting it hard. But lowering my hands, and then realistically, I started the season as the 27th guy. People got hurt. I ended up making the opening day roster, like we talked about, and I was just playing hungry as much as I can, and I still am. I feel like every day, I feel like I still have you know, I still have a spot to earn. I'm still trying to do my best every single day, and that sometimes that helps. Like, you don't get too comfortable, you don't get too complacent with where you're at, what you're doing, and now with that opportunity, I try to just do my best and try to help the team win no matter what.
Yeah, it's really cool to see. And it's also cool because like the guy technically you were competing with, TJ Rumfield, we've had on the podcast before,
Mhm.
awesome guy. And now you guys are both in Colorado and you're both producing, which is really cool. So they've kind of found ways to get you both in the lineup, even though you're both left-handed bats. I always know in Jacksonville, David Carpenter was really transparent about you're going to get a day off on this day. And I think he even sent the lineups to you guys the night before.
Yep.
So, for example, we just finished the game with Norfolk. I want to say like 9:15 last night, 9:30 last night, and I think those guys had the lineups like within the next hour or two at the latest. Is it similar like that with the Rockies, where you know, like, hey, they're trying to work both me and TJ in. He's a really talented guy who really was kind of blocked with the Yankees, and they trade for him. How does that kind of work with Warren Schaefer?
Yeah, no, we get the same thing. We get the lineups the night before, but it's I think that's almost universal
Yeah.
nowadays. Just so that guys can prepare, guys can prep, guys can like sleep on whatever they need to sleep on. They can like they don't have to like have that anxiety of the next day. It's like, oh my gosh, am I playing? Am I playing? Am I playing? It's like, okay, I know what my next day is going to look like. I know how to prepare. I know what to do. And I really prefer that kind of thing. But
Brownie
I
was
think
not like that though. Like Darren
no,
Brown, I
Brownie was
think he
not.
made you wait. Yeah.
Yep, Brownie was not. But that was also because Brownie, I mean, there's roster changes all the time, especially when we were there. There's things going on, so he doesn't want to write a lineup three times if he has to. So, but um, what I was thinking about was, I mean, the way Schaefer makes a lineup and the way I really appreciate it is he sets everybody up for success. If you're playing that day and the guy's pitching, if there's a certain spot, he wants to set you up for success. It's not that he's not just going to throw you in there to play. He's going to throw you in there because he thinks you're going to have success against a certain guy. He trusts you, and so that's really why I think me and TJ have been in the lineup is maybe because he trusts us and he thinks we're going to have success in that certain spot. But speaking of TJ, he has been unbelievable to start the year. He has been so fun to be a part of, so fun to watch. Um, he has got this nickname we call him TJ Ruth because of how his start has been. But it is so
That's a
fun
good
to be.
one to have.
It is a good one to have. But it has been so fun to be a part of. It's so fun to watch because you see a guy who, like you said, has been blocked by the Yankees, never got a shot. Has been grinding through the minors, and now comes has an opportunity, makes the opening day roster to make his debut, and makes the most of it. And looks like he potentially could be. And I'm speaking from what I think because I don't know, but potential to be in the running for an NL Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. Yeah, he very well. And the race is it's going to be stacked, right? Like there's so many good
Yes,
players.
yes,
Like
yes.
Connor Griffin is up in the show, and there's a lot of other guys who are there. But I always thought that he did well in Scranton. Like we had seen him like 2 or 3 years ago, and I don't know. Like the Yankees are always really good, so it's got to be tough. But kind of similar to you, it's like control the controllables. And I think remember him saying this, like I'm just gonna just do what I can here in Scranton, and then it's gonna work out the way it's supposed to work out. And for him, it was to go to Denver, which is really cool. So that's TJ Ruth. That's good stuff.
TJ Ruth. Speaking of TJ Ruth, speaking of a good start, let's talk about Jacob Berry for the
Yeah.
Jacksonville Gumbo Shrimp. I mean, I haven't looked up, but I know how good of a person, how good of a hitter he is. Tell me about kind of the start that he's been having.
Yeah. So I remember last year that, and I really think the year before that and the year before that, not in Jacksonville for Jacob, but in other places in the minor leagues, he'd gotten off to these really slow starts. And last year, I don't know if you remember this, Troy, May 14th, like he's barely on the precipice of the lineup. Like he had been dropped to ninth. He was not playing every single day. In fact, on that May 14th, 2025, he had actually been on the bench and Carr calls on him to pinch hit late. I think he came through late in the game, but he was hitting 114 with an OPS of like 580, something like that, maybe even lower at that point. And then the final 90 games of the season, he hit 307 with an OPS over 800. And it's like for whatever happened on that day, or I think he had maybe a couple days off just to reset. all of a sudden he was a new hitter. And that's kind of what I stressed to our fans the rest of the season is this guy is a stud and he could play literally anywhere. He's a switch hitter, so he's always going to have the platoon advantage. He's a great teammate. He just goes about his business every single day. And to see him flip the switch the way he did was awesome. And obviously, it ended up like he's going to be in Jacksonville baseball lore forever with what he did at the very, very end. But I wasn't really sure what to expect going into this year just because he is a slow starter. But he's the only guy really hitting on this team right now. And I think that's kind of what the coaches on this roster would say is they're like, man, we're treading water right now. And a ton of our guys are starting the season in slumps, but not Jacob. He's got a 7 game hitting streak. He's 12 for 25 during that stretch. He's hitting for power. He's getting on base. So I guess I was kind of curious. You were with us when he was going through that slump last year. And then you were with us when he came out of it. So what did you maybe see that he's been able to carry over into 2026 to avoid that slow start that he typically has?
Well, again, I can't say enough good things about Jacob Berry. He is a wonderful human being. But this game is really, really hard. Really hard. This is not, as much as the fans want everybody, to, bat 300 and hit, 2 home runs every game as a team and, put up 10 runs and do all this. This game is really, really, really difficult. And when you're in a spot that you don't feel confident in your swing, you don't feel confident in yourself. You come to the field and you just have this dread that you're just like, I just know that this is not gonna, you know, I'm in the lineup and I just don't know if I'm gonna succeed. And that's what a slump really is. It's not really a physical thing. It's not really like you can hit in bad positions. It's possible. You can do it if your mental is right. But when you're mental and you're stressed and you have anxiety and you have all these different things going on, now, all of a sudden, everything piles up. Now it doesn't matter how your mechanics are. You're still not going to be on time. You're still not going to swing at the right pitches. You're going to press. You're going to do all these kind of things. And it's really hard as a baseball player to get past that and try to, relax and try to focus on what the important things are, swinging at good pitches, having a good approach. Not worrying that the first 15 at bats, 20 at bats are really going to dictate the whole rest of your season because just like Jacob Berry, it took him, 20 games, 30 games to really get going. But when he did, it was incredible. He was a big part of our championship run last year. But I think that, if you're looking at baseball from an outside perspective, it's very different than anything else you possibly could experience because you're going up there and everyone is expecting you to fail except for you. You have to be the only person that goes up there and goes, I am going to succeed. I'm going to get on base. I am going to try and move the line. I'm going to try to do this. And you have to be the most confident person. And I think that that's really where Jacob Berry got a little bit better was he started believing in himself and he started believing in who he is, started believing how good he really can be. And I know we talked about it last year a lot is, there's a lot of pressure in this game, especially as a first rounder, especially as somebody who, got pushed through the minors really quickly. He's got a lot of pressure on him, but I think he knows how to handle it. He's such a good person. He knows how to come out of this. He knows what to do. And it's finally getting put together, which I'm so happy for him. I cannot be happier for him. But you also have a lot of other guys in AAA that are first year AAA guys. And it's very different because guys know how to pitch. Guys aren't just going to throw a 2-0 fastball, a 2-0 slider. I remember high A, I remember low A. When I got to AAA, the balls moved different. The pitchers pitched better. I didn't get as many pitches to hit. And then you get to the big leagues and it's even harder. And guys pitch to a plan. But I do, the only thing that I will say is that in AAA, it is funky because in AAA, you have a lot of pitchers that are like getting sent down to like work on a pitch. And so they're going to be like, okay, we're working on your changeup. And they're going to throw 80% changeup, where on the scouting report for the last 2 years, it says that he's a 5% changeup. Where you get to the big leagues, you got Scherzer, you got Gossman, you got, you know, um, I'm trying to think, you got Verlander, guys like that. They're going to pitch the same way they've been pitching for, 10 years. They're not going to change too much, but that's my only caveat between the difference of AAA and the big leagues. But it's incredibly difficult this game, and it's very cool to see somebody have success, have such a start because he has such a bright future with how athletic he is, how his mindset is. It's really cool to watch.
You just hit on something. It's a really hard game.
Sure.
And it's really hard, I think, in particular for him because he was the sixth overall pick in the draft. Like you just touched on that. but there are expectations that if you're the sixth overall pick in the draft, that you're going to come in and essentially be able to carry the franchise on your back. And that's just not fair. And I've touched on this a little bit. I think Jacob has always just kind of, at least publicly, maybe ignored that stuff. But I would be surprised if that didn't maybe wear on him that pressure of oh, you're drafted this high and you came from this incredible baseball program and you did all these amazing things at LSU and now you're supposed to come to the Marlins and you're supposed to, like you said, they pushed him really hard in the system and you're supposed to just come up here and be a middle of the order bat, and that's just not the kind of player that he is. But I think you could look at players a couple different ways. You could look at guys and what they're not. Jacob Berry's probably not going to be a 35 to 40 home run hitter in the major leagues, but I think the best organizations, and I think the Marlins are starting to look at this, look at guys like this, is that they don't necessarily worry about what somebody can't do. They look at what you can do. And other organizations that are really successful are the same way. Okay, Jacob's not going to hit 40 home runs at the major league level probably, but he's going to give you a competitive at bat every single time. But he's a switch hitter. But he could play literally every single position on the field at a pretty high level, in particular, probably right field and second base. But he's also a terrific teammate, right? So the organizations that are able to see those, maybe, I don't want to say even role player, because I think he could be something a little bit more than that, but maybe not a superstar, but a complementary piece. And then you kind of fit everybody together, kind of like you were saying with TJ, is that teams are realizing the Aaron Judges of the world. It's hard to find an Aaron Judge. It's really difficult. But if you're able to piece together these complementary players, and if you're facing a Max Scherzer and you know that, okay, this guy maybe hits that profile better, or hey, in particular in Denver, right, for you, we've got a contact oriented guy in the mound. So we really need to have a really good defensive outfield today because the outfield's the biggest in baseball by an enormous margin. So I don't know. I just think like people have always worried about what Jacob Berry is not. But when you look at what he is, guy is a heck of a baseball player. And I think, and I always say this, he is a major league quality baseball player in some role.
Yes. Oh, 100%. I totally agree with you. Sidebar, one of the teams that also does that very well, I think is the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot of guys that are going to hit 30 or 40 a year, but they're going to have guys that are going to hit 10. They're going to have guys that are going to put together good at bats. They're going to hit the ball hard. They're going to bunt. They're going to do all these different kind of things. That's one of the lineups that I played against the Brewers every single year of my career. So I played with most of those guys a long time, and watching them develop and watching them how I'm like, even in the minor leagues, I'm like, man, this is like a pesky at bat. This is that's a home run, or it's like, oh, there's a bunt down the first base line. They took it with them, things like that. And I'm watching them do it in the big leagues. I'm like, oh, I understand why big leaguers are big leaguers. They're complete players. They can do it all, just like Jacob Berry can do it all. And I think that's really cool because I think, your Jacksonville team, you guys have an opportunity to work on everything and not just hit 40 home runs a year
Yeah.
per player. I think that's a really cool opportunity to be in because personally, that's what kind of got me understanding who I am as a baseball player and what I can do is like I understand that I'm going to bunt if they give it to me. I'm going to hit the runner over. I'm going to hit and run. I'm going to hit for power if I need to. I'm going to take a single the other way. This game's so hard. You can't just go up there and expect to hit home run every at bat.
Kind of on that note, by the way, Jacob Berry is our stolen base leader as
Of
well,
course he
which is
is. He's
awesome.
so good at that.
He's
Yes.
so good.
Yes, of course he is.
I was kind of curious. I was looking up the guys you faced, and there's a pretty good list. Like you've seen several different All-Stars. By the way, you've seen several different former Jumbo Shrimp guys at the major leagues, which is kind of cool. Like Tommy Nance is an older one. I don't think you played with him, but
Tommy, I did play with Tommy
you did.
Nance.
Okay.
Yep.
Michael Peterson and Christian
Yep.
Roa and Eury Perez. So like you've got a pretty good list. But the one I thought was really cool, to me at least, is Max Scherzer. And the guy is a first ballot Hall of Famer, right? You could argue that he's the best pitcher of this generation, that it's like Kershaw, Verlander, and Scherzer. And how do you go wrong with picking any of them? Like I don't,
Yeah.
that's not the point I want to make here. But you get to face Scherzer because you're kind of like you know who these guys are, right? Like even if you're not you told me like I like to just watch baseball and but I'm not like super invested into it when I'm not in the field. But you obviously know who Max Scherzer is. So is that cool that you're facing a Hall of Famer? Do you even think about that? Like how do you go into that plate appearance?
I think it was cool. I'll give you a story about this. I think it was cool when I first faced him in a backfields game with the Marlins when he was with the Mets in like 2022 or 2023. I think that was the coolest time that because now when I think about it, I'm like, okay, I'm a big leaguer, he's a big leaguer. How do I beat him? That's my mindset. I'm not stepping into the box going, oh my goodness, this is crazy. Like
Yeah.
I can't believe it's like, no, I have a job to do. Yes, Max Scherzer's Max Scherzer, but he's going to pitch the same way. He's still going to throw his cutters in. He's going to throw his changeups away, and he's going to try to finish you with a fastball. Like there's certain ways to go about this, and I think that when you're at this level, yes, the sometimes the like feelings come through, especially I haven't been up here very long. Of course, like I have new experiences every day, but I still have a job to do. I still have success to have on the field. I still have to help the team win. It's more than just like stepping in the box. But I will tell you a story. My first time facing Max Scherzer, he was throwing a backfield game. I think he was rehabbing. He was getting innings, whatever he was doing. And Cameron Barstad, who I want to say is with the Reds or the Guardians now, something like that. And he had one of the best days I've ever seen in my entire life. First at bat, homer to left. And Scherzer was like baffled that he hit a home run, 2-run homer. I ended up walking, I think, and then we scored two more runs. He gave up a RBI single or something, so it's like 3-0 in the first, his first inning. He walks off the mound and says, roll it. In a backfield game, you can do that. You can just end the inning and, just go to the next inning. Says, roll it. So we go out, we put up a 0, we go back in the dugout. Cam Barstead comes back up again, hits another home run. Maybe it was a double, one of the two. Hits another double, another home run, something like that off Scherzer. And we end up scoring, I think, 6 total runs in 2 innings. He walks off the mound again after another RBI double. So it's 6-0 in the second. He walks off the mound, says, roll it, packs up his stuff, walks straight to his car, and goes home. But when I tell you it was a backfields game, he was only throwing 88, 89.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't, the lights are on and he's going to throw 96. He's going to give it his full effort. But it was one of the most intense, incredible like performances I've ever seen, or, infamous performances, whatever you want to call it. But the absolute intensity of somebody like that and what it takes to be a Hall of Famer, to be in the league for, 12, 15 years, that's the kind of intensity it takes. And it's cool to see, you talk about that. That's what I admire. I admire the mental capacity of some of these guys to stick it out through the good and the bad, for year in, year out. Like that's what I admire about the baseball game. And that's what I admire about these Hall of Famers, is that they can do it every single year and they show up and they be the same guy.
Yeah. All right, I have one more for you.
Yeah.
Um, San Diego is supposed to be a really awesome spot. What do you think? They've had crowds over 40,000 the first two games you guys have played there. What do you think about playing in San Diego?
Well, I'm really glad my daughter has her headphones. We'll put it this way. But it's been unbelievable baseball. We knew that San Diego was going to be good. But the crazy part about it is we've lost on 2 walk-offs, so we're right there.
Yeah.
We're really close. We need that one extra hit, that one extra out, something like that. It's baseball. You're going to lose games like that. And it sucks that we're on the losing side, but what I'm really excited about is that we're really close. And we're still 14 games into the season, 12, 13 games, something like that,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Like the season is so young and our team is just getting ready, just getting hot. We have some guys that I know are super close at the plate, and we have our pitchers are just unbelievable. Our bullpen's fantastic. Bullpen's unbelievable. Our starters are really good. Like we are really close to clicking here in Denver, and it's really exciting to be a part of. And I know, just as you guys are in Jacksonville, you guys are going to be really close to clicking here too. And when you guys do, you guys are going to make a run. You guys are going to do it because you guys have the pitching. That's the most important part. When you have the pitching, the bats will show up. Guys, the guys you have on your roster, the guys you have there in Jacksonville, I know they're going to show up. I played with them. So,
Yeah. Also, Mario Kart is back here, by the way.
yes, that is the
Hmm.
most exciting thing I've heard. It was funny because I actually won with one of my deals that I had. I won a Switch 2. And so I
Whoa.
downloaded Mario Kart, but uh, I haven't found too many guys to play with me yet. But I know, but
It'll
I've been
come.
trying my best. I've been trying my best to figure out different games and stuff like that. It's a long season still.
It's a long season. Apparently Joe Mack is very good
He
here.
is very good. I played against him. He's very good.
Bennett Hostetler told me he just gets bored sometimes. So that's how
Yep.
you can beat him. He's like Michael,
Yep.
I guess he's like, well, maybe not Michael Jordan because Michael Jordan never got tired of winning, but
Which is
he's like that level of player. And
yep.
then Zach McCambley talks a very big game, and he says he's Black Yoshi and he's very good. So
I hope McCambley has gotten better. Bennett's very good.
yeah,
Monteverde is very good. Um, Joe's very good. McCambley was always like our sickly kid that we bring in last year. So I hope he hears that because he's gonna love it. But he was that's he definitely is probably one of the guys. It's gonna be some competitive races. That's all it
yeah.
is. And that's the thing that gets you through a baseball season. A lot of people don't understand that, but the season's long. It's every day. It's Groundhog's Day at some point. You hit June 30th, July 1st, and it's Groundhog's Day.
The dog days. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Troy, thanks for making time for us on the West Coast in the morning. Again, this has been the Turn Two podcast. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. We'll talk to you guys then. Thank you.